The movie commences with a disturbing scene in which a woman has passed away due to a drug overdose. The photographs surrounding the scene indicate that she was a single mother raising 2 daughters. At that moment, her youngest daughter, Rose, arrives at the door and is taken aback. The narrative then shifts to the present day, where Rose has become a therapist at a mental hospital. She is currently attending to a patient named Carl, who is in a manic state, repeatedly expressing his fear of impending death. Rose tries to console him, but Carl continues to murmur his distress, leading her to admit him for a few days. Upon completing her work, Rose prepares to leave, but she is assigned another case, involving a patient named Laura. Rose reluctantly meets with Laura and learns that the young girl is suffering from bouts of depression. Laura explains that her mental state has deteriorated after witnessing her professor commit a shocking act. While Rose suggests that it's normal to feel paranoid after such an event, Laura insists that she's not crazy. She reveals that her odd behavior is a result of a creepy entity with a sinister smile that follows her everywhere, taking on the appearance of random people and repeatedly uttering the words, "You are going to die." Shortly thereafter, Laura collapses to the floor and starts screaming as if she has seen something terrifying. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Rose calls for assistance. However, when she turns back after making the call, she is shocked to find Laura standing calmly, wearing a disturbing smile. Tragically, before help arrives, Laura takes a shard of broken pottery and commits a shocking act, leaving Rose horrified. Following this tragic incident, 2 detectives arrive at the hospital, one of whom is Joel, Rose's former boyfriend. They question her about the events, but she is too terrified to speak, revealing only that Laura had a creepy smile on her face when she committed the act. After the formalities, Rose returns home, but she struggles to overcome the traumatic events. She takes a shower to relax and is about to pour herself a drink when she notices a chilling sight of Laura standing in a corner. At the same moment, her fiancé, Trevor, enters the room, startling her briefly. Trevor notices her distressed state and asks if everything is all right, to which Rose nods her head and changes the topic swiftly. Later, the couple joins Rose's sister, Holly, and her husband for a dinner outing. They discuss their work lives, but Rose appears distracted, haunted by the memories of Laura's shocking act. The next day, Rose attempts to return to work, but is finding it challenging to move past the previous events. Curious, she approaches the hospital's receptionist and requests to see the report on Gabriel, the professor involved in Laura's trauma. While reviewing the report, Rose receives a call from Holly, who invites her to her son's birthday celebration. During their conversation, Rose looks out the window and sees a figure in the distance resembling Laura. She dismisses it as her imagination and continues to check on her patients. When she passes by Carl's room, she is shocked to see him with the same disturbing smile as Laura had, and he starts shouting that she is going to die. This terrifies Rose, and she urgently calls for nurses to restrain him. However, in a dramatic twist, it is revealed that Carl has been asleep the entire time, and Rose's previous experiences were all in her imagination. When the hospital supervisor, Mr. Desai, learns of this, he becomes concerned about Rose's mental state and advises her to take a week off. Later that night, Rose is alone at home when the house alarm starts beeping suddenly, causing her to panic. She carefully approaches the front door with a pair of scissors, but finds it locked. Upon returning to the living area, she discovers the back door is open. In this unsettling moment, Rose receives a phone call from a security operator, who bizarrely tells her to look behind her. However, the phone rings again, revealing that the previous call was a hallucination. Rose quickly answers the real security operator's call, and several police officers arrive to investigate, finding no signs of intrusion. Trevor also arrives and asks Rose if she is okay, and she responds with a confused face, but realizes her pet cat, Mustache, is missing. Over the next few days, Rose continues to experience hallucinations, causing others to view her as mentally unstable. Worried about her well-being, she seeks help from her former therapist, Dr. Madeline Northcott, confiding in her about Laura, the creepy smiles, and her missing pet cat. She frantically explains that she is becoming increasingly paranoid. Dr. Madeline theorizes that Rose may still be affected by the traumatic death of her abusive and mentally ill mother. On the weekend, Rose attends her nephew's birthday party despite not feeling well. Things seem to be going smoothly for a while, and Rose believes she has overcome her hallucinations. However, when her nephew opens a gift she brought, it reveals the lifeless body of her missing cat, Mustache. This shocking discovery sends Rose into tears as she desperately tries to convince everyone that she is not responsible. In the midst of this, she notices one of the party guests smiling at her eerily, which terrifies her. In her panic, she ends up breaking a glass table, injuring herself. In the following scene, Trevor brings her home after a brief hospital visit. Before getting out of the car, Rose attempts to confide in him about the entity that is haunting her, but Trevor speculates that she may have inherited her mother's mental illness. Later, Rose continues her research on Gabriel, but she hears her mother's voice calling out to her from the darkness. Rose attempts to ignore the disturbing presence in her surroundings and goes to bed. However, a figure resembling her late mother appears behind her. The next morning, Rose embarks on a journey to investigate Gabriel's death by visiting his residence. There, she is greeted by his wife, Victoria, who shares that Gabriel had witnessed a shocking, self-inflicted act before his own demise. Victoria takes Rose to a room where they find numerous sketches by Gabriel, all depicting eerie smiles. Rose insists that Gabriel's experiences were real and that she is undergoing similar occurrences. Victoria, however, becomes angry and accuses Rose of making fun of her late husband, leading to Rose's expulsion from the house. Left with no other options, Rose turns to her ex-boyfriend, Joel, asking him to investigate cases related to Gabriel. Joel, though hesitant, agrees due to their past relationship. He accesses reports on his laptop and discovers that Gabriel had witnessed a woman named Angela committing a shocking act. Investigating Angela, he finds that she had witnessed another self-inflicted death. Footage shows a man smiling before committing a shocking act in front of Angela. Returning home with the intention of sharing everything with her fiancé, Trevor, Rose's plans are disrupted when she discovers that Trevor has brought Dr. Madeline to assess her mental state. This angers Rose, who feels abandoned during her time of need. She seeks support from her sister Holly, showing her images of the victims and explaining her patient's curse. However, Holly dismisses the idea of curses, comparing Rose to their late mother. Rose, overwhelmed by the constant pressure, chastises her sister, labeling her as self-centered and egotistical. Later, Rose hallucinates, seeing Holly's face upside down. In the evening, Rose is at a restaurant trying to distract herself when she receives a call from Joel. He reveals that there are 20 cases, with 19 being self-inflicted deaths following a pattern and one involving murder. The murder disrupted the pattern, and the witness to that murder continued it. Rose decides to meet the surviving witness face to face. She arrives at a prison where she meets Robert, who explains that the entity feeds on trauma. The only way to escape it is to commit a brutal murder in front of a witness, traumatizing them. Rose's anger at this revelation reveals that she, too, is cursed by the entity. Panic sets in, and the guards take Robert away. Returning home, Rose receives an unexpected visit from Dr. Madeline. A phone call interrupts their conversation, and Rose realizes that the person next to her is the entity. The entity smiles and warns her that time is running out. In the next scene, Rose drives to the hospital, armed with a knife, and confronts her patient, Carl. Mr. Desai cautions her against being near the patients, trying to inquire about her well-being. Disregarding him, Rose attempts to pass on the curse by murdering Carl. To her shock, Carl continues to smile after multiple stabs. She then awakens in her car, realizing that it was another hallucination. A passerby, Morgan, notices a knife in her car and informs Joel. Rose drives to her abandoned childhood home, isolating herself to prevent harming others. There, she confronts her mother's entity, insisting that it stops tormenting her. The movie delves into a flashback, revealing that Rose's mother was alive when Rose found her but chose not to seek help. In the present, the entity assumes a tall, terrifying form and attacks Rose, claiming it will forever torment her. Rose summons her inner strength, breaks free, and leaves the house, symbolizing her release from trauma. Afterward, Rose returns to Joel's house, hoping for shelter for the night. He agrees, but as he speaks, a creepy smile appears on his face. Alarmed, Rose exits the house, only to find herself back outside her childhood home, realizing the prior events were hallucinations. The real Joel calls her, and she rushes inside and barricades herself to protect him from the curse. The entity reveals its true form and forces itself into her body, causing her to suffer a trauma-induced paralysis. In a horrifying climax, Rose sets herself on fire with a smile, passing the curse on to Joel. If you found this summary helpful, please subscribe for more content, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.